What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. And today we're going to be discussing the 49ers injuries in their Week 4 loss to the Seattle Seahawks. Matt, they didn't even come away with the win, but it got even uglier with some star players leaving like Trent Williams. Obviously, starter Jimmy Garoppolo, we'll get into that a little later, and center Alex Mack all left with different injuries. The extent of these are not known as we're recording this yet, but which one do you think affects the team the most? It's a tough question because the starting quarterback, starting left tackle. So,
yeah, I think, I really have to go with Trent Williams here. I think Jimmy Garoppolo at any point in time could have been replaced. I know that Shanahan's been really kind of stubborn with that, but at least if Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt, you knew Trey Lance was there. Trent Williams is just such a huge part of the offensive line. He's the anchor of that offensive line. And without him, now Trey Lance has to worry about his blind side a little bit more than he would otherwise. It looked like he left for a little while, what they were calling cramps. He came back, had a bandage on his arm, looked like he had gotten an IV. And then later on, he had another injury where he was carted to the locker room. And so they're saying that it's a shoulder injury and there is some concern. So I'm wondering if it's something like a rotator cuff or a labrum. Either event, those are injuries that you really have to look out for. They could be long-lasting and lingering injuries, and it's just unfortunate.
it really is, and it's tough because he's such a vital part of the offensive line. I got to agree with you. He gets kind of the edge over Jimmy Garoppolo just in the sense that Jimmy, they kind of prepared for this in the sense that they gave up a lot to get Trey Lance. He's behind them, and it's almost like it was a matter of when, not if he gets pulled. Whereas Trent Williams, they don't really have a backup plan for Trent Williams. I think Justin School and Sean Coleman are injured, if I remember correctly. So I'm not even sure who they would play in his place. Perhaps Aaron Banks. I'm not sure. But it's going to be interesting and difficult for the team to overcome if Williams does happen to miss extended time. The quote from Shanahan in the post-game press conference was, quote, "I'm concerned for Trent to leave with a shoulder injury and not return. I hope it's all right, but that's all I know about it." It's very concerning. And then also Alex Mack did leave, but he ended up coming back. I think he had a hand injury. So that was at least positive he came back. However, the snaps were getting pretty erratic. I don't know if you happened to catch the snaps to Trey Lance as they went on during the game. He was catching them like with one hand, way over here, way over here.
Yeah.
That needs to improve, especially if you're going to have a rookie quarterback moving forward. What can Alex Mack do if his hand's injured? It's tough.
Right, yeah. And, that one's tough too. It wasn't like Alex Mack was, beating the doors off anybody. He wasn't playing outstanding overall, but he's a fair bit better than what they're going to have to put in there. And you just worry, again, this is another line injury. So with Trent Williams and now with Alex Mack, that's a patchwork offensive line. And it almost, it's almost fitting that Trey Lance is going to be back there because at the very least he has escapability that Jimmy doesn't have. But even with that said, I mean, it's a tough position for Trey to be in. And this offense could be in real trouble with the blocking and trying to put points on the board if these guys are out for any extended period of time. And that's just, it's not going to bode well for Lance's development. And I don't think that it's particularly fair for the rookie to have to deal with that stuff. It is what it is, and we'll see what happens. But it's just unfortunate overall that, it's just everything is just kind of falling apart again for the 49ers in 2021. We thought we'd leave injuries in 2020, but it's just another year, more of the same.
Unfortunately, yeah, it seems like that's the case. And I mean, with like you said, the good thing about having Trey Lance under there with kind of a beaten up offensive line is he's mobile. We saw him multiple times kind of extend plays with his legs, dance around in the pocket, whereas we didn't see much of that from Jimmy Garoppolo. He kind of would just stand there and unfortunately get sacked. The one thing I do think Trey needs to look to improve on, and obviously it will be his first NFL start, so it's not like he's been making these mistakes for a long time. However, rookie quarterbacks, especially like mobile rookie quarterbacks, I think tend to drop back further in the pocket than a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. And that makes it harder for offensive linemen to block. So perhaps focus on your 5-7 step drop and then don't continue going back.
Yeah, it just depends, right? Because sometimes they do drop back deeper. But at the same time, if they're working out a shotgun or RPO, he's not really going to drop back at all. And then depending on what they're going to do out of play action, if they can do anything out of play action because of the state of the line, it's really tough to tell at this point what's going to happen. Again, it's just really unfortunate that injuries are a part of this right now and are taking such a huge, heavy toll right as the Trey Lance era is about to begin, because it kind of hinders what he's going to be able to do and kind of lowers the threshold for mistakes that Lance can make. Trent Williams, Alex Mack, they can kind of hide some of those things through good blocking, through leadership. And really, I mean, no Jimmy Garoppolo, no Trent Williams, no Alex Mack. That offense is really running out of leaders quick. You're left with George Kittle, who didn't get really injured on the game on Sunday, but he should have. That looked crazy. I couldn't believe that he wasn't injured after that. So thankfully he's not, but man, oh man, it was just not a good day overall. That's for sure. And so you go into week 5 at Arizona with a rookie quarterback, no starting left tackle, no starting center. As far as we know, things could change, but this is preliminarily worst case scenario. And you're asking him to do a lot of these things that, he might not be able to do right away. So, and it couldn't have come against the worst team either, because Arizona is just coming out on fire. So it's going to be tough sledding, but the injury issue is getting real for the 49ers, and they really need to start evaluating whether it's strength and conditioning, whether it's Shanahan's lack of contact in practices, not building up those body calluses and things like that. There's a lot here, and there's a lot that needs to be explored to try to improve for the future. So it's really incumbent upon the team to sit down, take a look at everything that's going on these last 2 years of injuries, and kind of come up with a strategy, because at this point the 49ers are dropping like flies, and we have to pick people up like Dre Kirkpatrick. Dante Johnson gets another start, right? But it's not good enough at this point. I know that they're looking into signing Michael Kendricks or bringing him back. I just, it's unfortunate. It's not what we want to see as fans. I know it's not what the players want to see. I know that it's a frustrating thing, and it really does submarine a season and kind of just sucks the air out of the building. So whatever they need to do, they have to do, but it's just not good enough right now.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll go ahead and get into the biggest injury. Obviously, the 49ers suffered. I don't want to say biggest, but most notable, I should say. And that's obviously Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he left the game at halftime. Well, he didn't leave the game. The team went into half. He didn't come back out to start the second half. And he later reported that he suffered a calf injury. Kyle Shanahan said it looked like he got stepped on. Jimmy kind of made it seem like, he couldn't tell, but if that's what Kyle's saying, he's going to roll with that. And the quote from Jimmy when he was asked about his kind of injury situation, he said, it sucked in between series. I could feel it tighten up. Thought I could gut it out. Tried to for the first half, but it's tough, man. Been in the situation too many times, and it's getting real old. Just one of those things. It's part of the business, though. And then I believe Cam Inman asked him how long he felt, or if it was an Achilles, and he said, no, I don't think that's the case. Hopefully it's just the calf, and hopefully it's just a few weeks. Matt, how serious is kind of like a strained calf? I guess that's what they're classifying it as, medically speaking. I mean, I'm sure there's various degrees of that. It's a very big injury, it sounds like.
This is something that just a couple of years ago, you look at the Warriors, Kevin Durant had a strained calf, and he kind of came back a little too early. It was lingering for him. He came back and ruptured his Achilles. Unfortunately, the Achilles is kind of that lower anchor point for the calf muscle. So if you have a strain there of any kind, it might not necessarily be an injury to the actual Achilles itself, but there is potential there for it to become more serious. Calf injuries are notoriously long-lasting. They linger. They're not fun injuries to deal with. Just about everything you do with your legs involves your calves in one way, shape, or form. So it's going to be a lot of inactivity for Jimmy Garoppolo. It's going to be a lot of rehab, a lot of training, a lot of sitting on the trainer's table, getting work in, massage, maybe some stem treatment, or TENS treatment, excuse me. Just maintenance things to try to work out the muscle, and just be kind of easy on it, because any type of forceful contraction or anything like that can just automatically set you back. So it's not it's not like an ACL, right, where you're just out for the season, but it's still a fairly serious injury, and calves are something that you definitely have to watch out for. So my expectation would be that, Lance is in there as the starter for at least a couple weeks because of this.
Well, we'll have to see. Jimmy certainly made it sound like it would just be a few weeks. However, obviously he's not the medical expert. So once we get some test results, hopefully today as we record this, we'll find out more information, and we'll go from there. But yeah, it's another game, another handful of losses for the 49ers. Unfortunately, it always seems to be key players, not like any losses, worse than one other. But however, when they're starters, it does affect the team a lot more. So that's going to do it for this episode of Niners News, guys. We took a little break. We're glad to be back. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Help us get to subscribers so we can give away a 49ers jersey. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, and, follow us on our social media. You know where to click, like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, go Niners.